So
the Raptors fans would be annoyed that they're here. You know that those folks, those fine folks in Toronto, are a little sensitive. They would be a little annoyed, saying, you know, well, here comes Brandon Ingram, and Grady Dick had a good finish to last year, and you know, Scotty Barnes, this is when he ascends, and
yeah, I mean, Toronto.
Are we living in a parallel universe where basic facts about the Toronto Raptors somehow magically transform into complete fiction the moment they cross the border into American sports media? We've just witnessed another glaring example of how the so-called experts at ESPN's Hoop Collective can't even get the most elementary details right about our team. The most shocking part? They're making these mistakes while literally discussing whether we should be taken seriously as a franchise. Picture this: seasoned analysts with decades of experience, massive platforms, and unlimited resources for fact-checking, yet they're getting basic timeline information dead wrong about a player who was literally shut down for the final 21 games of last season. I'm about to expose the systematic pattern of negligence that proves these analysts don't just ignore the Raptors, they actively spread misinformation about us. What's up, Raptors Nation? Quick Court coming in hot with another deep dive that's about to make your blood absolutely boil. Hope you're all crushing it today, rocking that red and black, and ready to witness some absolutely shocking incompetence from the so-called basketball experts down south. How exactly do professional analysts with million-dollar platforms manage to get basic, verifiable facts about our players completely backwards? Drop your most frustrating analyst takes about the Raptors in the comments right now, because I've been collecting receipts on this systematic negligence for months. Let's start with the most recent and egregious example that sparked this entire video. On ESPN's Hoop Collective, Brian Windhorst casually drops his gem about Grady Dick. Grady Dick had a good finish to last year. Now, if you're a real Raptors fan who actually watched our games, you're probably screaming at your screen right now, because here's what actually happened. Grady Dick was having a phenomenal start to the 2024-25 season. The kid was averaging 4 points per game, shooting efficiently, and looking like everything we hoped for when we drafted him 13th overall. But then, and this is the part these analysts somehow missed, he was shut down for the remainder of the regular season due to a knee injury, missing the final 21 games. So let me get this straight. A player who was literally shut down and couldn't even suit up for the final month plus of the season somehow had a good finish? This isn't just a minor detail or a slip of the tongue. This is fundamental timeline information that any analyst worth their paycheck should know before opening their mouth on national television. What's your experience been with friends or family who only get their Raptors takes from American media? How often do you find yourself having to correct basic facts? But here's where it gets even more infuriating. Windhorst and the panel then have the audacity to make predictions and assessments about our team's future based on these completely fabricated narratives. They go on to question whether we're better than teams like Chicago, completely ignoring the context that we were actively tanking the final stretch while the Bulls were desperately pushing for the play-in tournament. It's like evaluating a student's academic performance, but only looking at the grades from when they were sick and missed half the semester. The Grady Dick mistake isn't an isolated incident. It's part of a systematic pattern of negligence when it comes to covering Canadian teams. Remember when Shaq literally didn't know that Pascal was Siakam's first name? These aren't obscure trivia questions about bench players. We're talking about our star players, our lottery picks, our core pieces. How many times have you heard American analysts mispronounce Jakob Poeltl's name? And don't even get me started on the complete butchering of Siakam over the years. The real issue isn't just the factual errors, it's the confidence with which they deliver these false narratives. When ESPN personalities make definitive statements about our players' performance trajectories based on completely incorrect information, it shapes public perception. Casual fans across North America are getting their Raptors knowledge from these sources. So when they hear that Grady had a good finish to the season, they're building their understanding of our young core on a foundation of lies. Let's talk about the broader implications of this negligence. When Jakob Poeltl signed his 4-year, $104 million extension this summer, the ESPN panel called it an odd extension. Heady, but here's what they missed. Jakob just came off career-high numbers in points, rebounds, and minutes while shooting 63% from the field, 5th best in the NBA among qualified players. He's one of only 3 players league-wide to shoot 60% or better from the field in each of the past 8 seasons. But sure, extending a 29-year-old center entering his prime, who's been a model of consistency and efficiency, is somehow odd. Do you think the constant mischaracterization of our moves affects how free agents and trade targets view Toronto as a destination? The most frustrating part is that quality basketball analysis does exist. Analysts like Zach Lowe actually do their homework. They watch games, understand context, and provide nuanced takes based on accurate information. But they're becoming the exception rather than the rule in a media landscape increasingly dominated by hot takes and lazy analysis. When we look at the sum total of our recent moves, trading veterans like Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam while acquiring young talent like RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, and potentially Brandon Ingram, there's actually a coherent vision at play. But you'd never know that listening to analysts who can't even get basic timeline facts straight about when our players were healthy versus injured. What's been the most ridiculous Raptors take you've heard from national media this season? Here's what really gets me fired up. These analysts are essentially gatekeepers of basketball discourse. When they spread misinformation about our team, it doesn't just stay in their little ESPN bubble. That misinformation gets repeated on social media, discussed on other shows, and eventually becomes accepted as fact by people who don't know any better. The lack of accountability is staggering. When was the last time you heard one of these analysts issue a correction about getting basic facts wrong about the Raptors? They'll spend 20 minutes analyzing trade scenarios based on completely false premises, but there's never any follow-up to acknowledge their mistakes. This is exactly why we need platforms like QuickCourt. We're here to give you the real story about our team based on actually watching games and understanding context. We're not going to tell you that a player had a good finish to the season when he was literally shut down for the final month. We're not going to call smart contract extensions odd without understanding the underlying value and performance metrics. Remember to hit that subscribe button because we're the antidote to the lazy analysis poisoning basketball discourse about our team. The broader question this raises is about media literacy in the social media age. How do we as fans navigate an information landscape where supposed experts can't even get basic facts straight? Yeah, the answer is simple. We verify, we fact check, and we support content creators who actually do their homework. Moving forward, I challenge everyone watching this video to become more critical consumers of basketball analysis. When you hear takes about the Raptors from national media, ask yourself, does this person actually watch our games? Do they understand the context behind the statistics they're citing? Are they building their arguments on accurate information or convenient narratives? What's one question you wish these analysts would actually research before making pronouncements about our team's future? The good news is that despite the media negligence, our young core continues to develop. Grady Dick showed tremendous growth before his injury setback, averaging 14.4 points per game before being shut down. Scotty Barnes had another solid season with 19.3 points, 7.7 rebounds, and 5.8 assists across 65 games. We've got Brandon Ingram locked up on a 3-year extension, and Jakob Poeltl providing veteran stability in the front court. The foundation is there, regardless of what lazy analysts want to tell you, but we deserve better coverage. We deserve analysts who understand that getting basic facts right isn't optional. It's the bare minimum requirement for credible basketball analysis. Until that changes, we'll keep calling out the nonsense and providing you with a real story about our beloved Raptors. The next time you hear an American analyst make confident pronouncements about our team, remember the Grady Dick example. Remember how they can't even get simple timeline information correct, yet somehow feel qualified to make sweeping judgments about our franchise's direction and potential. With the recent departure of Masai Ujiri and the new leadership under Bobby Webster, we're entering a new era, one that deserves accurate, informed coverage rather than lazy hot takes. This is why QuickCourt exists, Raptors Nation. to cut through the noise and give you analysis based on actually watching our team play basketball. We're not going to feed you lazy narratives or convenient storylines that ignore basic facts. If you're tired of hearing our players and front office mischaracterized by analysts who clearly don't do their homework, you know what to do. Smash that subscribe button and join a community that actually cares about getting the story right. Drop a comment letting me know the most ridiculous Raptors take you've heard from national media. And I'll see you in the next one where we break down why our young core is more promising than these so-called experts want to admit. Until then, keep supporting our guys and remember, we know our team better than anyone. Peace!